Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And in today's range report, we're going to be taking a look at another fantastic firearm from one of my favorite AR companies, LMT, Lewis Machine and Tool. And today we're going to be taking a look at the LMT Mars H 6.5 Creedmoor pistol. Now, the MARS system stands for the Modular Ambidextrous Rifle System. This particular gun, as I mentioned, is in 6.5 Creedmoor, 14-inch barrel. And the H in the name means that this is, of course, based off of the AR-10 platform or the heavy platform. And so this is a gun that often I tell people has an identity crisis. Guns like this. Guns that are chambered in full-powered rifle cartridges but are SBRs or pistols. Now, I totally understand why someone would want a pistol in 5.56 or an SBR in 5.56. But once you start getting up into the full-powered rifle cartridges, I'm not really sure what you're going for. This is probably a little bit overkill for a defensive carbine, but you're not maximizing the ballistics for a DMR. I understand it's a smaller package, and of course these can be very accurate, but they kind of go in the middle ground between a carbine and a DMR, and are they really good at either? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Now, there is one caveat to this video that I want to put out there, and that caveat is I am an average gun owner, and I'm going to do a review of this firearm from an average gun person's perspective using what I think would be an average circumstance. Now, the 6.5 Creedmoor, of course, is a long-range cartridge, and this firearm, as it sits, could definitely reach out and touch a target at 300, 400, 500 yards, no problem. However, I only have access to a 100-yard range, and many of the people that I think would buy this gun are going to be collectors like myself, people that might not live on acres and acres of property, and they just want to have a cool tactical firearm like this. So if you're coming to my review to watch me shoot at crazy long distances, you're not going to get that. And you might criticize this video and say you didn't take that rifle, or in this case a pistol, out to its full extent. I also get that as well. But if you're looking for that type of review, this one might not be the one for you. But if you're just an average gun person like myself and just want to see what this firearm is all about, well, hopefully you will get something from this video. But before we get into the things that I like and don't like about this gun, and of course get it to the range, I always want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this really cool firearm. He's a local fan and subscriber named D, and he has lent some amazing guns to the channel in the past, so thank you, D, once again. I always want to thank my Patreon supporters, because through their monthly donations and support they help keep the lights on, and I couldn't do it without their support. And if you guys want to see all of these videos early and support the channel, you can do it with a link in the description below, and you can join for as little as $1 a month. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor for all of these range reports, because his donations of ammunition make them possible, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And if you're here to watch a review on a high-end AR type platform, well, I know you love high-end firearms. You're probably a collector like myself. You probably have nice Colt 1911s, Beretta 92s, CZ75s, or Browning High Powers, just to name a few. And you've probably been looking for a set of unique and customized grips to your taste that would make your firearms one of a kind. Well, I have the perfect grip company for you. Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. And not only does he make wood panel grips for pistols, he also makes them for modern sporting rifles. And that is something that is unique and one of a kind. Mark is always adding new features to his grips, and he can customize them to your tastes. He can put on custom logos, custom engravings, custom textures, finish finish these grips in a wide variety of colors, even create custom laminate woods, and apply exotic materials like snakeskin and alligator skin to make them unique and one of a kind. So I'm going to put a link to his website in the comment section below, as well as a coupon code to 10% off your first order. So I'm going to ask you guys to go over there and see everything he has to offer. And when you place that first order for that set of custom grips, please tell Mark the Texas Gun Vault sent you. So once again, let's talk about the firearm we will be shooting and reviewing today. We will be taking a look at the LMT, or Lewis Machine & Tool, Mars H 6.5 Creedmoor pistol. Mars stands for the Modular Ambidextrous Rifle System. The H in the name means it is the heavy version, otherwise known as the AR-10 platform in other companies. So this is designed to take a full-powered rifle cartridge. It is obviously finished in a very nice green color. I have never seen that on another LMT. This also utilizes the LMT MRP, or the monolithic rail platform. As you can see, the rail is built into the upper receiver. So obviously the barrel is going to be free floated. It's a 14.5-inch barrel that has a 1 1/8 twist. So as I mentioned earlier in this video, this gun I think has an identity crisis. It's too short really to be a DMR, but it's too long and heavy to be a defensive carbine. So how is it going to perform? I don't know, but I am going to review this from the perspective of a DMR. I just don't think this gun would be practical as a carbine. So I'm curious if the shorter barrel is going to perform well and be accurate for me. But before we get this to the range and find out how it functions, as always, I like to talk about the things that I like and don't like. And I always want to start with the positive first. And the first thing I love about this gun is that it is an LMT. I think LMT does a great job. Not only do they have tons of military and police contracts, they also make quite a few guns for the civilian marketplace. Unlike companies like Knights Armament, which mainly focuses on those government contracts, and thus the few guns that make it onto the civilian market cost a lot of money. Well, LMTs cost a lot of money too. You just have a chance of actually owning one of these because they put out quite a few of them, and I do appreciate that. They are one of the best AR companies in the world, but they cater to the civilian marketplace as well. I really like the color on this. Green is my favorite color, even though I like flat dark earth on firearms. I have never seen an LMT with this color before, but their anodization is perfect. I also love the ambidextrous controls on this. So both the lower and upper are milled out in such a way where you can get to all of the controls, the magazine release, the bolt catch, the safety selector switch, really easily, either hand, and the charging handle is also ambidextrous. I also love these grips that LMT puts on all of their guns. These, I think, used to be of a different material. They used to be a lot softer, and this is not as hard as a Magpul type of polymer, but it's also not too soft of a rubber. It looks like an old Ergo grip, and normally I don't like finger grooves, but these LMT grips are fantastic. And because this gun I think is really designed to be a compact DMR, they have put in an outstanding trigger in this gun. And so I want to measure it. And so I'm going to adjust the camera now, get out the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge, and we're going to find out what this two-stage trigger is all about. And as always, I want to show you a close-up of the triggers of the guns that I review, and being that this gun is designed for precision shooting, or so I think it is, I think the trigger is going to be very important. So, as always, let's safety check the gun. As you can see, we don't have a magazine in this one right now, but let's turn the gun over and let's safety check it and inspect the chamber. It looks like we are clear. There is nothing inside. So the first thing I want to do is show you the pull and the reset. So being a two-stage trigger, we have a very light take-up, and it has a very definitive wall to it. Once you hit that wall, it has a pretty darn crisp and light break. Very short. Now let's take a look at this reset. That's it. And that click is very tactile and very audible. And then we have that nice, smooth take up back to that wall. Two-stage triggers are absolutely perfect for DMRs and precision shooting. So that is what that trigger pull looks like. So now let's get out the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge. Let's clear the averages. And let's see what this trigger is all about when it comes to its pull weight. So the pull weight here is 6 pounds, 7.0 ounces. Definitely a lot heavier than I was expecting. It doesn't feel that heavy when I'm pulling it. Let's do this a few more times and see if it changes the average here. £6 pounds, 8.1 ounces. £6 pounds, 13.6 ounces. £7 pounds, 2.2 ounces. And finally, £6 pounds, 10.1 ounces, which gives us an average of £6 pounds, 11.4 ounces. Now, that is really kind of an interesting result. This is a very crisp and clean trigger. It has a very smooth pull to it, and it does not feel like it is that heavy. It's definitely heavier than a lot of other two-stage triggers I have pulled. However, this one doesn't feel that heavy, so it's kind of a disconnect between what the gauge is saying and what it feels like. But how will that translate to accuracy at the range? We're just going to have to find out. But before we get to the range, there are a few things about this gun that I don't like, so let's talk about those now. And as you can see, the trigger pull on this is a little bit more on the heavy side, but as I said, it does feel good when you pull it. It does not feel that heavy. But now let's talk about a few things about this gun that I don't like. And speaking of heavy, well, that is going to be one of the downsides to this. This gun is exceptionally heavy. Now, I know the owner of this pistol has outfitted it with quite a few things. A very nice Nightforce scope. We have a bipod out here on the front. But overall, this is a very heavy weapons platform, even though it is a pistol. And that's where I'm kind of wondering where its identity is. If you're going to have something this short, well, hopefully you're going to have some weight savings, but you don't get it with this. If I was going to have this gun, I would rather have an 18 or 20 inch barrel to maximize the ballistics of 6.5 Creedmoor if I'm going to have to be lugging around a really heavy firearm. The last two things about this gun that I don't like will not play into my final rating because there's some things that my friend D added to this gun, but I did want to note. First off, all the guns that are sold in this configuration do not have a pistol stabilizing brace. They just come simply with a buffer tube. And D has added an SB Tactical brace to it. However, I don't know if it is the tube itself or the brace, but this does not fit together very well at all. It's actually really hard to move. In fact, at the range, I actually broke this brace because it would not move at all, and I kind of struggled with it. Well, I pushed down the adjustment button and I was tapping it from the back to collapse it to put it back in the bag, and an internal part broke. There's something about either the tube or this brace that is out of spec. It's simply just too tight. It's also very small. I don't know why I would want a full-powered rifle cartridge with such a small brace. You're already going to have a lot of recoil coming back into your shoulder, and I would want something a little bit bigger to distribute that weight. The other thing that he added, which does look very nice, is this Law Tactical folder. So if you really want to, you can fold the buffer tube. And of course, that's going to make this a very compact package for travel. But once again, as a DMR, I don't think this is a necessary feature, but he was able to find one in green to match the gun. But those are just personal preferences and not what comes stock on this firearm. But I did want to share that with you in case maybe you think this is going to be one of the causes of some of the issues that I'm going to show in this range report. So now let's get this thing to the range and let's see what this is all about. So as always, when it comes to these DMRs or rifles, I'm going to start at 25 yards. And yes, I know this rifle can go out way further than that. But these are my first shots. I have no idea if this scope is even zeroed, and I don't even know if this gun's going to function. So before going out to 100 yards, I just want to make sure that it works. So here we go. The first 5 rounds, 25 yards. Let's just see how this thing shoots and performs, and I'll report back to you and tell you what I find out. And obviously at this distance, accuracy was not going to be an issue. I just wanted to make sure mostly that this scope was zeroed before taking it out to a further distance. Now, upon editing the range footage, I noticed that this gun might be a little bit over-gassed. There was sure a lot of stuff coming out of the gas port here on the Bolt carrier, but that's not translating to a heavier recoil. Now, is this over-gassing going to be an issue as the range report continues? Well, we'll just have to find out. But it also just could be the lighting conditions and my camera. But as I said, it really is a soft recoil, and besides that one failure to feed, I'm not sensing any other over-gassing issues. But let's talk about that one failure. 6.5 Creedmoor is designed to feed from a .308 magazine, and that last round took a nosedive. Now, is that because of the magazine, the firearm, or just a general issue with 6.5 Creedmoor? Well, we'll just have to see as the range report continues. All right, so now I'm going to double the distance on this target, go out to 50 yards, shoot another 5 rounds, make sure the gun continues to be accurate, and see if these failures persist. So here we go back to the range, 50 yards, and a few more rounds downrange. Now first I have to apologize. I had to change lanes after shooting that original range footage, and now the camera is set up right where the AC unit is blowing air into these rifle lanes, and you might be getting a little bit of audio interference, but that was beyond my control. Now obviously the accuracy is continuing with this gun just as I would expect. This is a gun designed to go out to multiple hundreds of yards, so 50 yards is not going to be a problem whatsoever. I'm very happy with this gun's accuracy and the way that it feels in my shoulder. However, as you can see, now using a different magazine, we're having the same issue. So does this have to do something with the gun, the feed ramps, the bolt, the magazines, the rounds? I'm not 100% sure, but it is getting a little bit annoying, but I'm glad that I'm documenting this. Now, this also could be a little bit of the overgassing or undergassing of this gun. Maybe if there's too much gas or too little gas, the bolt carrier is having a hard time coming back to be right where it needs to be to pick up that next round with enough energy. So that's just what I'm experiencing so far. So now let's go out another 25 yards to 75 yards and see what happens to this group and see if this accuracy continues and if I continue to have issues with these magazines and 6.5 Creedmoor. So pretty much I have exactly the same results that I had at 25 and 50 yards. We're still having some failures to feed, and I know some people are going to ask, does this gun have an adjustable gas block? Well, no, it does not. It's a standard direct impingement gun with just a standard low profile gas block. Now, when you get down to 14.5 inches on such a fast projectile, you don't have a lot of dwell time. Essentially, the time between the projectile passing the gas block and the end of the barrel. And that usually does not allow for enough gas to build up to reliably cycle the bolt. But the way companies get around this is that they will open up the gas port on the barrel a little bit more. And I feel like maybe LMT did that a little bit too much on this gun. It's definitely overgassed. And maybe that is what's causing these feeding issues. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely is getting annoying because this gun, in my opinion, is not very reliable. It is very accurate, and that is what I expect from LMT. Their barrels are amazing. But if this was going to be a different type of gun, like a bolt gun, I think it would work perfect. But if you're going to have a semi-automatic firearm, you have got to get this properly tuned, especially with such a short barrel. All right, so now we're going to go out to 100 yards. And as I said, I know some people are going to criticize me and say, that gun can go out way further than that. Yes, it can, but this is as far as I have available to me at this range. And I'm just an average gun guy, so if I can shoot this gun well at 100 yards and get a good group, I know you can do even better in your own circumstances. But here we go, 10 rounds. Let's see if I can shoot this gun really accurate. I think I can. By the way, this Nightforce scope is awesome. They make some of the best scopes out there. So here we go, 100 yards, 10 rounds. And let's just see the kind of group I can get at this distance. And the one thing I have to give this gun a lot of credit for is its accuracy. But every LMT that I have ever reviewed has had exceptional accuracy. They always exceed my expectations. Their barrels are amazing. But the one thing this gun is letting me down with, of course, is the reliability. Is it the magazines? I don't think so. These Magpul PMag SR25 mags are the industry standard, and 6.5 Creedmoor is supposed to feed from these just fine. Is it something to do with the bolt carrier? Is it the feed ramps? I don't know, but it makes reviewing this gun not a lot of fun. So there's definitely something wrong with the reliability with this gun. This gun is also a little bit overgassed, and when it comes to these short, full-powered rifle cartridges and guns that are designed for them, everything has to be balanced just right. If anything's off by just a little bit, you are going to get some issues. So even though earlier in this range report I mentioned this is a gun that has an identity problem, it doesn't know if it wants to be a DMR or maybe a combat carbine, well, I think it wants to be a DMR in a small package, and from an accuracy standpoint, it definitely meets that criteria. But because it's so short, we're having these reliability issues, so that really let me down. So I'm not really sure what the owner of this pistol is going to do. He might send it back to LMT, or he might try some other stuff to get it fixed. But I'd be curious what he figures out in the future, because I only get these for a short period of time and I can only come to you and document my personal experiences with them. But the reliability has definitely let me down. So on my star system, how would I rate the LMT Mars H 6.5 Creedmoor pistol? Well, accuracy is off the chart. I was very surprised by that with such a short barrel, essentially a pistol, but the reliability is just not there. So I can only give this 2 out of 5 stars. Not because the gun isn't well built or beautiful or not accurate. It's just because it doesn't run. If I'm going to spend this type of money on a firearm, I want to make sure it's going to run. Now, I know what some people are going to say. That's just an example of one, and their LMT runs great, and that's most likely the case. But I can only document my personal experiences, and I only have an example of one. But I always show you what I discover. And so maybe there is a quality control issue with these. Maybe there's a problem with the way these guns are set up and all of the dimensions of the gas ports and the barrels. I don't know. But this gun is not reliable for me. And I showed you what happened at the range. But I can tell you from shooting other LMTs, LMT is an amazing company and has made exceptional firearms that I have reviewed, and I've always been happy with them. So I really am a little bit let down on this one. But only 2 out of 5 stars for the LMT 6.5 Creedmoor Mars H pistol. What do you guys think? Have you ever shot one of these? Have you ever shot an LMT in 6.5 Creedmoor? Or do you have an AR-10 in 6.5 Creedmoor? And do you have feeding issues from the magazines? I would love to know in the comment section below. So, as always, thanks for watching.